can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, I'm going to be breaking down who the top 10 smartest characters in Marvel Comics are. Before we get started, I do want to put up some caveats and maybe a couple of disclaimers on everything that we're going to be talking about here in this video. If your favorite character does not make the list, please don't take it as a personal attack. This list is meant to be objective, and I'll be brutally honest. Even some of my favorite characters who I think of as being some of the smartest people in Marvel Comics aren't on this list. This is a list about who are the smartest characters, not our favoritist characters. With all of that out of the way, the only other favor I have to ask is that if you are new to the channel or if you've been a long time watcher and just haven't ever gotten around to it, consider clicking subscribe and hitting that bell so you get notifications on every video. My goal for 2023 is to hit 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube, and the only way I can do it is with the help of Earth's mightiest subscribers of today and Earth's mightiest subscribers of the future. That means you. Now we got the YouTube business out of the way. First up on the list, and originally I had a different character here, but I decided finally on Nathaniel Essex, aka Mr. Sinister. Nathaniel Essex actually has the distinction of being one of only 2 characters to make this list who is not considered a super genius intellect. Even though he's not a super genius intellect, he is still a genius level intellect just the same. And he was considered a master surgeon long before he ever became the Mr. Sinister we know him as today. In his heyday, he was already a PhD and MD with high honors in the field of biology and medicine. He's performed complex surgeries like removing a portion of Gambit's brain and later putting it back, almost as if nothing had ever happened. Being as skilled in biology as he is, it's a little surprised that he is also a skilled geneticist, considered to be borderline unequaled in that field. He's also used his genetic splicing know-how to create chimeras, mutants modified to have more than one effective X gene, allowing them to have a wild variety of power sets that no one would be able to predict. His knowledge of mutant genetics is so extensive that he is considered the foremost expert and is only rivaled by Professor Charles Xavier, but it's actually safe to say Sinister has a fair sight more knowledge of mutants than even Charles Xavier does. He's also one of the only people on Earth to ever successfully reverse engineer celestial technology, as well as build a living celestial, though he had help in that regard alongside one of the only other humans who can boast the same feat, a character we're going to talk about a little later in this list. Next up on my list at number 9 is going to be Dr. Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk. Dr. Bruce Banner is on this list for a multitude of reasons, but one of the main reasons why he's actually on this list is because he can boast something that no one else in the Marvel Comics universe can actually say, and that is that he is the foremost expert in gamma radiation. No one on Earth knows more about gamma than Bruce Banner. He's also a nuclear physics super genius, with Tony Stark proclaiming him as the greatest nuclear scientist in the world. He's also considered an expert in other fields of science and academia like architecture, biology, and engineering. His intellect is said to be immeasurable by any intelligence assessment test, despite him actually creating a test to do exactly that, a test that we'll talk about a little later called the Banner Box. Another feather in Dr. Banner's cap is that both Dr. Doom as well as Mr. Fantastic consider Bruce to be one of the smartest people on Earth, and that's considerable since they are both considered 2 of the smartest people on Earth. He was even thought to be the 4th smartest person in the world during the Marvel Comics event Dark Reign, the list Hulk #1. One of Bruce Banner's greatest accomplishments is that he created a catalytic converter that was once theorized by Tony Stark and was considered to be impossible to create. But this device was able to effectively cure cancer with its ability to neutralize carcinogens in anything that possessed them, and he actually created something that could do exactly that. He's also developed ways to depower other gamma mutates across the world during his time as Doc Green. Next up on my list at number 8 is going to be T'Challa, aka the Black Panther. T'Challa is not considered a super genius by any stretch of the imagination, even though I wouldn't blame anyone for assuming that he was. T'Challa is just a normal genius intellect. However, he is, in fact, a polymath. And for those who don't know, that means that he is a person with a very wide range of learning and knowledge. It's also very possible that not only is T'Challa a polymath, it's also probably highly likely that he's a polyglot, someone who knows a wide range of different languages that they can not just speak and understand, but could also speak fluidly as if it was their own first language. T'Challa has more recently been regarded as the 8th smartest person in the world, and while other characters have accomplished some impressive things that might have bumped him back, he's actually developed a new kind of science, one that no one else, save for his sister Shuri, has any experience with, a scientific discipline known as shadow physics, a mixture of alchemy and physics used to create weapons made of vibranium that can destroy vibranium. This is a huge feat because typically when things made of vibranium interact with one another, they usually don't affect the other very much. This new scientific discipline can also be used to teleport organic and inorganic matter from one place to another by physically destroying whatever it transports and rebuilds them perfectly in their desired location. Much of the technology that T'Challa wields is developed by himself, including all of the various gadgets that he uses while he's acting as Black Panther, as well as all of his various Panther suits. Pretty much anything that he has possessed prior to Shuri's introduction in 2005, it's safe to say T'Challa was the one who came up with it. And even some things after the fact, he's also come up with. He's also no slouch when it comes to the mystic arts, adding yet another academic / scientific discipline to his repertoire. He's also able to reverse engineer virtually any piece of technology that he lays his eyes on as long as he sees how it works. And in some cases, it's safe to say he could even improve upon their design. Next up on my list at number 7 is going to be Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. Now, I know some people are going to be a little in their bag because I put Iron Man before Black Panther, but just sit back, let me cook for a moment, and you'll probably see why I did it. Tony Stark has created some of the most innovative, some of the most ingenious, I would even dare say some of the most dangerous and even deadly inventions in the history of Marvel Comics. He's responsible for many of the greatest discoveries in Marvel, and his weapons and armor are some of the most powerful in existence. He's also helped other heroes with their technology, taking them up to close to or even similar levels as his own technology. Now, earlier I mentioned the character of Nathaniel Essex and his reverse engineering celestial technology. Tony Stark is also capable of doing the same thing. He used reverse engineering to create his own version of a celestial size Iron Man armor. He's even found ways to integrate symbiote into his own technology, creating a giant Iron Man armor with one of Null's Grendel symbiotes, and turned it into a trans-dimensional gate that could take him anywhere in space and time. He was also one of the people who was instrumental in helping Mr. Sinister create a living celestial god during the Judgment Day event. The repulsor technology that he uses as a weapon in his Iron Man armors is also a clean energy source. Not only is it clean energy, but when Tony tried to make it available to the public, he even found ways to tweak it so it couldn't be weaponized. Even though in some roundabout ways, his repulsor tech has been weaponized, but that's neither here nor there. He's also responsible for Extremis 3.0. The original Extremis was more of an attempt to try and recreate the super soldier serum that turned Steve Rogers into Captain America. However, Tony didn't create that. That's actually not his brainchild, but Extremis 3.0 is. He improved upon the Extremis formula that allowed anyone who used it to transform themselves and modify their bodies however they wanted to become the perfect versions of themselves that they always wanted to be. Another reason why Tony is higher up on this list than some other characters is because a lot of the inventions that he has created are things that didn't even exist at the time back when they were debuted, but later became actual realities. Case in point, the Stark browser known as Stark Voyager. It was a better version of what was then Internet Explorer, and a lot of its features like offline browsing and other little tidbits that were very similar to features we have in modern day social media. These were things that seemed like science fiction back in 1998, but are pretty commonplace nowadays. Even the cell phone tech that Tony Stark created in his comics during 2005 became reality as recent as the 2010s. Phones with access to satellite internet broadband, computer connectivity, and were for all intents and purposes mini supercomputers are now a reality and incredibly commonplace. And while all that's fine and dandy, Tony is one of, if not the foremost expert in artificial intelligence, having created multiple AI assistants over the years, with each becoming more complex than the previous version. One of his latest, simply known as Friday, has become much more than a personal assistant for his Iron Man endeavors, to the point that she developed sentience and now exists outside of Tony's Iron Man armor, and even has a body of her own, also developed by Tony Stark. Sitting at number 6 is going to be Dr. Adam Brashear, aka Blue Marvel. Blue Marvel is recognized as a super genius intellect, and while he hasn't spent a lot of time in Marvel Comics since his debut in Adam, the Legend of Blue Marvel back in 2008, it's very difficult for me to spend a lot of time talking about him specifically just because he doesn't really show up in a lot of different comics. But some of the feats we can talk about that I feel cement him as the number 6 entrant on this list is because he has a PhD in theoretical physics and a master's of science degree in electrical engineering, and his power enhancing gauntlets, his underwater base in the Marianas Trench, and the many portals that he uses. Every piece of tech we have ever seen Blue Marvel use, these are all things that he has conjured up with his own 2 hands. Not only that, but he created a stable anti-matter reactor, something even Reed Richards couldn't make himself and believed was impossible. And if that wasn't enough respect coming his way from Reed Richards, Reed even believes Blue Marvel's intelligence is on par with Dr. Doom. And that's actually not an insult. Reed actually sees Dr. Doom as one of the smartest people on the planet, if not the smartest. But Reed actually knows who the smartest person is on the planet, and we'll talk about that a little later on down this list. Speaking of Dr. Doom, let's talk about our number 5 entrant. Victor Von Doom, aka Dr. Doom, possesses a super genius intellect like many people on this list. Now, for a guy named Dr. Doom, you would assume that he actually has a doctorate degree. He actually doesn't. He never finished his doctorate. So technically he's closer to being Mr. Doom than Dr. Doom, whereas Mr. Fantastic should actually be Dr. Fantastic as opposed to Mr. Fantastic. However, that doesn't diminish Dr. Doom's accomplishments. Dr. Doom has invented Doom bots that are virtually indistinguishable from himself, not just in appearance, but even in the way they act, to the point that only people who have ever spent a significant amount of time around Dr. Doom tend to know whether it's a Doom bot or actual Dr. Doom. He's also invented weapons, armor, and other devices that are nearly unrivaled in the Marvel Comics universe. His armor is both incredibly durable and has weapons powerful enough to take down nearly any foe imaginable. And he's outfitted his armor with so many accessories that it's almost impossible to predict his attacks and his defenses, and his armor can sustain his life for very long stretches of time. These are all things that he himself has created with his own 2 hands and his own mind. He's invented personal time travel devices, various methods of transportation and teleportation, cloaking devices, weapons of mass destruction, multiple highly sophisticated artificial intelligence, and even things Reed Richards couldn't conceive of. If that weren't enough, he's also reverse engineered Asgard destroyer armor. Not only is he skilled in various scientific disciplines, but he's also considered a master of the mystic arts. So much that he's even been considered for the role of Sorcerer Supreme on more than one occasion. Now, we just talked about Dr. Doom. Let's talk about our number 4 entrant on this list, and that is Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic. Reed Richards being before Dr. Doom makes a lot of sense, considering the fact that even Doom himself, while he won't say it out loud, Dr. Doom knows deep down Reed Richards is smarter than him. Now that said, both their levels of intelligence, while I would say Reed is definitely ahead of Dr. Doom, it's not actually by that much. And they're also incredibly intelligent in very different areas. Where Dr. Doom is more of a technological marvel but also leans more on the mystic arts, Mr. Fantastic tends to lean more on science overall and, even more importantly, super science. Case in point, the costumes that Reed made for the Fantastic Four, which are made of unstable molecules, these allow the wearer to use their powers safely, whatever they may be, without destroying the costume. And this has not only helped the Fantastic Four, but Reed has also used the same technology to help characters with their costumes on the X-Men, the Avengers, and the New Warriors, as well as many other characters, even including Spider-Man, on more than one occasion. He's also created a universal translator that allows him to decipher virtually any language that the device hears. Even when he doesn't have that device, Reed has even made it his own personal hobby to break down and decipher ancient languages as well as alien languages, up to the point that he can read and speak them himself. Another one of his greatest accomplishments is discovering the negative zone. And while this was something he did quite some time ago, this is a feat which earned him a Nobel Prize. One of his other famous inventions is the coma cannon that does exactly what it says on the tin: put people in comas. He's also created devices like the bridge that let him peer into alternate realities. And while the Parker particle is listed as being discovered by Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, it was actually discovered by Reed Richards first, only he hid the information away because the Parker particle is a hyperkinetic form of energy that is incredibly unstable and ridiculously dangerous in the wrong hands. Now, while Reed is definitely the smartest man on Earth, but only 4th on my list, it's actually because there are 3 characters who are in fact smarter than Reed Richards. And the reasonings being is that neither of these 3 characters are either A, a woman, or B, human. So let's get right into it. And at number 3, I have Reed Richards' daughter, Valeria Richards. Valeria Richards, just like her father, is considered to be a super genius intellect. She considers herself to be smarter than her father Reed and is the self-proclaimed world's smartest girl. She already showed her super genius levels of intellect when she was as young as a toddler, able to complete complex puzzles like Rubik's Cubes when she was under 2 years old. She also created the very impressive Forever Gate, using old technology that Reed Richards had forgotten about, and used it to formulate a gate that allowed a person to travel to any place or time in the universe, both known and unknown. She's also proven she can create many things that Reed could never even conceive of, with Reed himself recognizing that many of her inventions are beyond his ability to even replicate. Now that I've said all that, okay, so if she's the world's smartest girl, then who the heck is at number 2? And at number 2, it's going to be Lunella Lafayette, aka Moon Girl. Now, I know what I said earlier. Valeria sees herself as the world's smartest girl, and while Moon Girl is definitely a girl, their intelligence levels are actually not that terribly far apart. The reason why I'm giving Lunella the edge is not just because she is actually considered in a lot of circles in the Marvel Comics universe to be the world's smartest person. The thing is that while yes, her and Valeria have very similar levels of intelligence, Lunella, I feel, is a lot better at applying the knowledge that she knows than Valeria. And it's not to say Valeria is stupid. I mean, clearly, we're talking about a list of the world's smartest people. But no, what I mean is we've actually seen it evidenced even in a Fantastic Four comic that there are some things that Lunella knows that Valeria doesn't. Case in point, during the event of War of the Realms, there was an incident where dark elves attacked Yancey Street, and while Valeria was too busy trying to, quotey fingers, Google the weaknesses of dark elves, Lunella already knew what they were, implying that she actually had a leg up on Valeria, at least in some areas. Valeria's. Not only is she a step higher than Valeria on this list because of this, but also because while Valeria is the self-proclaimed world's smartest girl, Lunella passed the test, the Banner Brain Omnicompetence Examiner, aka the Banner box that I mentioned earlier, a test that is supposed to be impossible to pass, not even by its creator, Bruce Banner. She is currently the only person in the Marvel Comics universe to ever pass that test. Moon Girl has created complex and highly advanced working technology on par with, and in some cases better than, anything Reed Richards or Tony Stark could ever possibly conceive. Not only has she done this, but she did it without having the monetary resources that Reed Richards and Tony Stark both have, and she also did it with either limited or no resources available to her. She's a highly skilled computer programmer and engineer, even at age 9 years old when she was first introduced in Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur #1. Not only is she the smartest person on Earth, but she is also considered by the Kree to be a 100% threat to their society, all based on her ability to create a device that could detect Kree technology and even Kree aliens trying to sneak around on Earth. So here we are at #1. Who could it possibly be? We've already gone through the world's smartest man, 2 of the world's smartest girls, so who is left that could be the smartest person in Marvel Comics? And if you guessed that this person is an alien, you'd be right. So who could it be at #1? It would be none other than Dion, aka Thanos. If Moon Girl is the world's smartest person on Earth, then Thanos is one of the smartest people in the universe. Like everyone on this list, he is a super genius level intellect, but unlike many on this list, he's created tech that is far beyond anything created by normal humans and even other advanced alien species. Thanos specializes in virtually every scientific discipline known to the universe and likely possesses the alien equivalent of a Master's of Science degree in academic disciplines unheard of by Earth ears. He's invented hover chairs that help him travel across space and time, dedicated time-traveling machines, robot drones, armadas of massive ships, weapons of mass destruction, and much more. He's even been quoted as saying that Earth's smartest humans are only smart compared to the rest of their species, specifically pointing out Bruce Banner in this regard. His mental aptitude is not just limited to science and other academics. Like Dr. Doom and even T'Challa to a lesser extent, he's also very well versed in the mystic arts, an entirely different complex science in and of itself. And he's also a well-versed tactical wizard when it comes to assessing wartime situations and coming up with sound strategies to overcome virtually any odds. Not only is he incredibly intelligent, but his intelligence is not just limited to inventions. Thanos was able to use his intelligence and his wit to outsmart 6 cosmic beings who each were various levels and degrees of equal to him, or in some cases even superior to him. And to trick each and every one of them out of their Infinity Stones that they possessed, he didn't just use brute force, he used his mind. Consider anything that I've mentioned any other character on this list having accomplished, and I guarantee you Thanos could recreate any of the feats of any person I've mentioned on this list prior to him, and I guarantee you he could do what they did and do it better. But anyways, that is my top 10 smartest characters in Marvel Comics list. If you enjoyed this video, or you're just new to the channel, or you've been watching my videos for a long time but just never got around to it, consider clicking subscribe and hitting that notification bell. That way you know every time I post a new video. I post new videos every week, breaking down my favorite Marvel and DC comics, as well as my favorite comics from other imprints. And on your way out, make sure to Hulk smash that like button and click share, because it really helps the channel out. In the meantime, let me know what you think about my list of the top 10 smartest characters in Marvel Comics. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Or do you have a list of your own? Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.